our children, terrorizing the civilian population and threatening us with a nuclear catastrophe. For more than 3 years, Ukraine has been strong. Ukrainians are fighting heroically. Our unity has become the key to our strength. Today, Ukraine is fighting for a democratic future and our European choice. The restoration of Ukraine is inextricably linked to EU membership. Together, we can build a stronger, safer, and more prosperous Europe. Together, we are strong. We are fighting. We will win and we will rebuild. United in defense. United in recovery. Stronger together.
Оголошується хвилина мовчання за
A minute
загиблими
for
у цій
silence
жахливій
for
війні.
those who perished in this dreadful war is announced.
Who died in this terrible war. Прошу сідати.
Please take your seats. The floor is given to the Prime Minister of Ukraine, Denis Shmyhal.
Dear Madam President of the European Commission, dear Ursula, distinguished members of the European Commission, dear colleagues, members of the government of Ukraine, first and foremost, it is my sincere pleasure to welcome our European friends here in Kyiv. Your visit today carries great importance and symbolism. It takes place on the 3rd anniversary of Russian full-scale invasion of Ukraine. It is a clear expression of solidarity and belief in our shared European future. It sends a powerful message of the unwavering support of the European Union for Ukraine. Over these past 3 years, Russia has systematically attempted to destroy the principles that formed Europe's security architecture for decades. Yet, this aggression has never been directed at Ukraine alone. It represents a test for the whole Europe, for its unity, its capacity to defend its core values and its very future. Whether we like it or not, we now live in an entirely new world, a world that offers no room for passivity or silence. We face a critical choice. Either we proactively shape our new reality or it will be shaped for us. Europe must become a continent of action. Therefore, the issue we face today is not merely about war and peace, sanctions or military assistance. It is fundamentally about the future of the European continent itself. Dear friends, dear colleagues, for 11 years, Ukrainians have shed their blood for the very values upon which the European Union was founded. For us, Europe is more than geography or an economic bloc. It is a civilizational, it is existential choice. It represents the primacy of law over brute force and humanity at the center of all policies. Today, however, our fight extends far beyond Ukraine's borders. Every meter of Ukrainian land defended by our brave soldiers is a meter of European freedom preserved. That is why today here in Kyiv we must state clearly Ukraine's security is Europe's security. We do not ask you, our partners, to fight in our place, but we ask you never to forget what we are fighting for. That is precisely why Ukrainians' integration into the European Union cannot remain a distant goal. It must become a reality, not someday, but now. We firmly believe that Ukraine's EU membership is more than a moral imperative. It also offers practical solutions to the strategic challenges Europe is facing today. Ukraine can become the strategic response to the threats and challenges highlighted by President Ursula von der Leyen last month when she introduced the EU Competitiveness Compass. Ukraine can be Europe's strategic pillar in defense, energy and technological sectors. Europe urgently needs an army capable of defending its own home, and we are ready to be at the very heart of this army. Ukraine offers unique combat experience, cutting-edge military technologies ranging from drones to cybersecurity, and human capital that has already demonstrated extraordinary resilience and professionalism. The development of our military tech can be the catalyst for a new European defense strategy. Our defense industry is already producing armored vehicles, air defense systems, ammunition, and all types of drones that are reshaping the course of modern war and modern warfare. Joint projects in defense manufacturing will significantly modernize Europe's military capabilities, reduce costs, and increase the scale and quality of production. The era of security-free region has ended. It's time to invest actively in our collective defense capabilities. Yet, security goes beyond military strengths alone. It also includes energy independence, it is critical raw materials autonomy, it is leadership in advanced technologies. That is why today we offer Europe not only our courage and battlefield experience, but tangible strategic advantages, energy resources, critical minerals such as lithium, titanium, uranium, natural gas, hydrogens, as well as food security, nearshoring, opportunities and technological synergy. Our renewable energy potential will help EU achieve its ambitious climate goals. Our gas storage capacities can serve as a reliable reserve in times of crisis. Ukraine holds Europe's second largest natural gas reserve. Ukraine is one of the European leaders in digital transformation and IT innovations, both in public administration and the private sector. Our unique digital solutions can increase the EU efficiency and improve access to public services for European citizens. Economically, Ukraine can serve as a competitive manufacturing hub for Europe, leveraging our skilled workforce and strategic logistics. Ukraine's reconstruction offers European companies profitable investment opportunities, stimulating economic growth across the continent. Recent estimates suggest the recovery will cost around 500 billion euros. Rebuilding Ukraine can become Europe's magnum opus, uniting and strengthening our entire continent. Therefore, today I address you not just with words of gratitude, but also with specific calls to action that Europe urgently needs. Firstly, Ukraine's integration into the European Union must accelerate. We urge you to review existing procedures and open negotiations at the same time across all clusters, all 6 clusters, I would say. Ukraine is fully prepared to move forward, to reform decisively and to become an EU member, but this journey requires your strong determination and political courage. Secondly, the time has come for a new Europe, a Europe that is not afraid to hold the torch of freedom in one hand and a sword in the other. We call for increased defense manufacturing and propose investment in the rapidly growing Ukrainian defense industry. We must extend the so-called Danish model when partners invest directly into Ukraine's defense industry. We must integrate Ukraine's defense production into the EU supply chains. We need greater military support for Ukraine now. Thirdly, we propose accelerating Ukraine's integration into EU's single market and deepening our sectoral integration. Further liberalization of trade based on ambitious, sustainable solutions will benefit all of us. Further integration of Ukraine into the European transport space and effective connections to the TEN-T network will benefit all our countries. We also propose to deepen energy market integration. We urge the EU to establish a strategic European gas reserve, leveraging Ukraine's extensive gas storage facilities as a key stabilizing element for the European energy market. Fourthly, rebuilding Ukraine will require massive financial resources. We firmly believe that frozen Russian assets should serve as a financial cornerstone and primarily resource for our reconstruction. The moment has come to confiscate these assets. Such a decision is entirely legitimate, and now is the time to crystallize a clear legal framework. Dear colleagues, dear friends, dear Ursula, we are deeply grateful to the European Union for your unwavering support, financial assistance, weapons, humanitarian aid, and sanctions against the aggressor. We thank each European country that has chosen not just to express solidarity, but to actively act. We thank every European nation who has declared we stand with Ukraine. Allow me extend special gratitude to the European Commission and personally to you, dear Ursula, for your strategic leadership, your belief in Ukraine, and your courageous decisions which continue to give us hope, real hope for our mutual victory. Thank you so much. Now is the moment for a Europe ready to take action. Now is the moment for a Europe capable of protecting itself. Now is the moment for a strong Europe in which Ukraine fully takes its rightful place. Thank you for your faith. Thank you for your support. Together we will build a new Europe. Together we will win. Glory to Europe. Slava Ukraini. Thank you. So, dear colleagues, let me give the floor, Madam President of European Commission, dear Ursula, please.
Thank you so much, Prime Minister, dear Denis, Excellencies, dear colleagues, my dear friends. Today marks a very bleak anniversary. It's 3 years of war and destruction, 3 years of senseless human tragedies, but also 3 years of unbelievable courage, incredible resilience, and remarkable bravery from the Ukrainian people. All of the Ukrainian people. And I speak on behalf of all my college when I express here today, dear Denis, our deepest and most sincere admiration. Admiration for how you continue to resist to Russia's attack. Admiration also for all that you have achieved in midst of this atrocious war and absolute chaos. All the reforms that you have already passed, heavy reforms, difficult reforms, while you are fighting a war, and the efforts you are undertaking to join our union, we are deeply impressed by what you are delivering at lightning speed. And we will continue to support you on that path towards the European Union membership any way possible. Our commitment to Ukraine is and will remain unwavering. What is at stake is not only Ukraine's right to exist as a free nation, but also the future of our European continent. Our message is very clear. We support all diplomatic efforts that include you. We endorse negotiations that lead to a just and lasting peace. And we will back a peace agreement that takes into account your interests. And in the same vein, our position towards Russia is equally rock solid. We will continue to intensify pressure against Russia and its war machine through our unprecedented economic sanctions. And we will continue to hold Russia responsible and accountable for the many crimes it has committed. We will not forget Bucha. I personally will never forget Bucha. I was there days after the mass killing. And I remember we met there for the first time. We will never forget Mariupol and so many other atrocities. Ukraine can count on us. And today you have here my college in Kyiv with you. We will now discuss all the steps we are taking to shape our common future. First, of course, we will look at the accession to the European Union. We are working hard together to open negotiations on clusters in the first half of 2025. And we are already integrating Ukraine into the EU's internal market, an important step forward, so that your efforts to join our union are already rewarded this year. As an example, the integration of Ukraine, for example, into the European Union's Rome like at home, specifically for the young people, they love it always when we finally make it. But also the early EU market accession for Ukrainian industrial products, so that we open already sectors of the single market for your products to come to the single market, the growth plan that we have together. Second, we also want to boost our cooperation on defense. And here it's the other way around. We can learn a lot from you. Ukraine has a highly innovative and thriving defense industry. It's impressive to see how fast you have learned, the impressive startups you have with young people who are producing, for example, drones cheaper, faster, and more intelligent. So we are learning from you, and therefore we will increase our support through the EU Defense Innovation Office that we have in Kyiv, and work on integrating the Ukrainian defense industry into the European defense ecosystem. But this also really means that our industry is coming to Ukraine to learn from the Ukrainian defense industry. Third, we will hold Russia accountable, as there won't be any lasting peace without justice. And this is why it is so important that we have made decisive progress in establishing a special tribunal for the crime of aggression against Ukraine. It has lasted a long time. From day one on, we've been working towards that goal. Fourth, we want greater energy security for both Ukraine and the European Union. We have prepared an ambitious package to that end, which we are bringing here today to Ukraine. We have worked very hard during this winter. Actually, it's not the first winter. We've also worked during the winter before to keep the lights on and the houses warm in Ukraine. And I really want to thank all of those who have been involved in this hard work, that you made it possible. Because I remember very well at the beginning of this winter, we were so worried that we would not be able, with all the targeted destruction by Russia of the energy infrastructure, to keep the energy system up and running. We have provided 1.8 gigawatt of energy, and up to today, knock on wood, we're doing fine. So a lot of thanks, this is due to your consistent work in this field, and a lot of thanks for that. But we are also looking forward. We want to fully integrate Ukraine's electricity market in our electricity market. We want to seize the full potential of Ukraine's vast gas storages, thus generating income for Ukraine. And of course, we want to invest in Ukraine's renewable energy capacity. And finally, we're supporting Ukraine. While we're supporting Ukraine, this is not only about the business, which is important, but it's mostly about people. And I'm thinking here of the 700,000 displaced Ukrainian children who pursue their education in schools across the European Union. I think about the Ukrainian students who could find a new learning environment thanks to Erasmus+. And I'm thinking about the 4.5 million Ukrainians who found safety across European member states, but who are longing to go back home. And for that, we need a just and lasting peace. And this is more than human capital we are speaking about. This is the people of Europe shaping their common European future together. So, dear Dennis, I look very much forward to have now a very productive exchange between the college and the government. And I have the pleasure to open the first cluster. We call it cluster 2.
First chapter.
Or the first chapter. That is EU accession, internal market integration and financial support. And dear Marta Koos, the Commissioner for Enlargement. Where are you? There you are. You have the floor. Thank you, Madam President. Ukraine's determination and resilience on its path to EU accession, despite its terrible wartime circumstances and the heavy human toll that is taking, is truly commendable. We are invested to accelerate Ukrainians' accession process to the EU. We are as committed as Ukraine to make substantial progress as swiftly as possible, and we are working at full speed to open accession negotiations on clusters already in the first half of 2025. Шановні пане Прем'єр-міністре, you said you want to open 6 clusters. I've heard this from Mr. President on December the 1st when I came here. There are a number of steps still to have been taken, but we hope to be able to open Cluster 1, fundamentals, Cluster 2, internal market, Cluster 6, external relations, already during the Polish presidency, and then we still have half a year to open the other 3. But we have to work hard on both sides. For progress to maintain momentum, it is crucial to sustain the high pace of reforms while ensuring a whole of society ownership, which includes keeping really a close partnership with the members of the Verkhovna Rada, civil society, and also private sector actors. While the decisions on the next steps remains in the hand of the member states, it is important that we provide them with a solid factual basis showing progress and allowing for fast decision making. Now, in going into the topics you have pointed out before, positive news. Commissioner Serafin will further elaborate on the Ukraine facility, which is truly a fundamental instrument to accelerate Ukrainians' integration in the Union. The facility is crucial not only in providing financial support to Ukraine, but also in linking Ukraine's recovery, reconstruction, and also modernization. I'm also delighted that we will step our game to advance your future membership, accelerated integration, as you, Madam President, said it. We are offering today to bring you fully in the internal energy market by April 27, with key security of supply features, notably for gas, already in place this summer. Commissioner Jorgensen will elaborate on the work we have done on this together. By the summer of next year, we would also be able to bring you into most of the internal market for goods, giving you a huge economic boost, and Commissioners Sejourné and Šefčovič will address this further. Both initiatives will be backed up by significant funding from the Ukraine facility, and it will also allow us to prepare to really step high on the reconstruction, accelerate the membership negotiations, and of course, at the same time, bringing short-term benefits to all the people of Ukraine.
Thank you so much. And I give the floor to Olga Stefanishina, Deputy Prime Minister of the European Integration, Minister of Justice of Ukraine. So, Olga, please.
Thank you, Prime Minister, dear colleagues, Madam President, Commissioners. It's a great honor and pleasure to see you all here and with all many familiar faces. And I hope you had plenty of time to discuss all of the issues on the agenda, but I'm really grateful for the opportunity to address you with the confirmation that we're still standing strong, our commitment is strong, and our capability to advance our European accession process is still there, with more than 3,000 people engaged into the accession process and 1,000 of pages of documents and positions already presented to the Commission. We have already prepared the necessary roadmaps, which are a precondition for opening the clusters, which is the ambitious agenda on the reforms in the area of the rule of law and fight against corruption, transformations of Ukraine's public administration in line with the future accession ambitions. But also, we have worked hard with Parliament, with the civil society, within the government, on preparation, the roadmap for functioning of democratic institutions at war. And this is the first document we prepared within our country, which puts the framework, how do we operate within the war and how do we prepare for the post-war period. So we are looking forward for the opportunity to present these roadmaps to European Commission and Member States for a further decision, which will pave the way to opening the first cluster and hopefully all the others to follow. I will be really short by saying that we stick to the calendar, which is ambitions, we stick to the agenda. We are really grateful to all the efforts, all the members of European Commission, Madam President, and the Commissioner, of course, are putting into making this process happening on a daily basis. At the same time, at every round of our accession process, we do not forget that there is still a lot of opportunities we can explore throughout the accession process, and we have presented the proposals on the sectoral integration, which hopefully will be discussed over the nearest Association Council meeting, which will take place soon in Brussels. With that, I conclude and with saying that I'm also happy to hear that we have the ambitious agenda for this year, that we confirm that we are capable of opening all the clusters, and we will work hard to mobilize the unity behind that, and we will wholeheartedly support any adjustments in the procedures which will allow us to go without delays. Thank you.
Thank you so much, dear Olga. And I remember your personal initiative about Ukraine plan, which you named Ukraine Facility. It works perfectly. As for now, I'm really grateful to you, or our government, our country is really grateful to you personally, Madam President, to European Commission, to European Union, because it became like a pillar of our macro-financial stability during the wartime. And I believe that this instrument will work after this war as a pillar of our recovery. So let me give the floor to Minister of Finances of Ukraine, Sergei Marchenko, and please, Mr. Minister, tell us about financial support, Ukraine Facility instrument, and all other topics. Please.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Dear Madam President, dear colleagues, I am glad to be here with you. I am grateful for your support. I believe that the strengths and coalition we created together help us to be resilient and determined. And I would like to switch on to Ukrainian language. If you don't mind, please take on your headphones.
I would like once again to express my deep gratitude for the support to our country in this critical period for the whole world. Russian war against Ukraine has imposed great destruction to our economy and social infrastructure. The total losses are to the hundreds of billions of euro, and increased defense expenditures require additional resilience. And with the support of the decisive actions of the EU and other allies, Ukraine got macro-financial stability. 135 billion euro have been already provided by the EU, and 66 billion euro from that went into the economic support. This is unprecedented scope of support, which highlights the strategic understanding of Ukraine for the EU. We must know that the EU is the biggest contributor to the budget support. As of today, this support is 40% from the overall scope of all support we received, and it's 45 billion euro. The program, Ukraine Facility, has become the main financial mechanism of support from the EU from 2024. Ukraine has already fulfilled 41 events, which is foreseen by the plan, and it's been positively accepted by the EU in the fourth quarter. We hope that the Council, the EU, will soon approve the new tranche for the 3.5 billion euro, and as part of the cooperation with the G7 countries last year, we've launched a special mechanism through the extraordinary revenue acceleration mechanism. We've managed to mobilize $50 billion more, and it is important because it's an important step which also provides the use of the windfall profits from the frozen Russian assets, and we hope that we will receive your support in the use of the body of the frozen Russian assets. I will look forward to your support. And the restoration of Ukraine's economy is still a priority, and it would require some difficult financial decisions. And hopefully, when we have discussions on our perspectives for the 2036 to 2028-2036, Ukraine will take an important place in the investment infrastructure, and it will be part of the Ukraine accession. And also we have important cooperation with the EBRD and the EIB, and we would like to say thanks for your input in the sanctions policies. You keep imposing sanctions, and you are leading in terms of sanctions over companies and individuals from the Russian Federation. With joint efforts, we must ensure that there is long-term financial stability and integration into the European economic space. I hope that Ukraine and the European Union will be able to implement everything we undertook, and we are ready. We are committed to implement all the necessary reforms.
We can manage to do it rather sooner than later, and all of our reforms will be implemented for this year because it's our needs, because we really depend on your support. And thank you very much. I hope you will enjoy staying in Kyiv.
Thank you very much, Minister. Now I have the pleasure to call to the floor Commissioner for the Budget, Piotr Serafin.
Thank you, Madam President, Mr. Prime Minister, dear colleagues. I will start where Minister Marchenko has finished. Indeed, the EU and its member states are the largest financial partners of Ukraine. But I would like to stress that we are also the most predictable financial partner of the EU. And through the Ukraine facility this year, we plan to disburse 12.5 billion euro. Mr. Minister was referring to 3.5, the tranche which has been already positively assessed by the Commission and is subject to Member States' approval. We count on you, Mr. Minister, and on the whole of Ukraine to continue to deliver on reforms, as it has been the case until now, to enable a flawless flow of budget support under the Ukraine facility. The Ukraine facility also delivers on investments, with the next pipeline of projects worth 880 million euro to be presented in the beginning of next month to the steering board for the Member States' approval. This pipeline of projects will be focused on public investments, and it will include, among others, investments in housing, health and energy. On top of that, the EU and the European Investment Bank have signed a more than 2 billion euro guarantee agreement that will allow to finance public investments in Ukraine. You already referred to that initiative. As part of the G7 ERA loans initiative, we have disbursed already in January the first tranche of 3 billion euro. It is part of our 18.1 billion euro contribution. The rest will be disbursed in tranches still this year. We are fully aware that the US assistance is crucial for you to support your economy, repair and build better your infrastructure, and to keep the state, schools and hospitals running. My message today will be quite simple. We have been standing by your side until now, and we will continue to stand by your side for as long as it takes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Commissioner, and I give the floor to Yulia Sviridenko, First Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Economy of Ukraine, about priority action plan and about our cooperation on this track. Please.
Дякую, Денис Анатолійович. Шановні колеги, дуже
Esteemed colleagues, it's a pleasure for me to welcome you here, and it's a great honor for us to meet here and to discuss the possibilities for our further cooperation. We are confident that the mandate of the Commission for the 2024-2029 will be successful for Ukraine in the context of the negotiations about the accession to the EU. Of course, we're looking forward to get your further support in overcoming the external aggressor and in the recovery of Ukraine. And I would like to say special thanks for the Pillar 2 of Ukraine facility, which enables the participation of the private sector so that they would be able to take part in the reconstruction. No, it's a unique mechanism. It's become a certain benchmark for other partners who also are thinking about the creation of this mechanism. From the moment the deep and comprehensive free trade agreement with the EU was enacted, we've implemented a lot of work on implementing this agreement and to approximate Ukrainian legislation to the European norms and standards. We are now working on the full implementation of the deep and comprehensive free trade agreement and the priority action plan, and I can focus on the tasks which we set to ourselves in 2025. Firstly, to finish the consultations on the liberalization of trade, and according to Article 29 of the DCFTA, and then the inclusion of Ukraine to EU policy Rome like at home. Third is the negotiations between the Ukraine and EU on ACA, on acceptance of industrial products, and fourth, the inclusion of Ukraine to the Euro payment zone, to SEPA zone. And this is the action plan we are focused on this year, and we hope that this priority action plan would facilitate Ukraine's integration into the EU internal market at the accession phase, and it would create additional benefits for the companies and individuals. And we hope that this partnership between the Ukraine and the EU will get even deeper and deeper, and jointly will be able to overcome the challenges and take the opportunities to achieve our common goals. Thank you so much for everything you've been doing in these 3 years. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now I have the pleasure to call to the floor the Commissioner for Trade and Economic Security, Maroš Šefčovič.
Thank you very much, Madam President, Mr. Prime Minister, dear colleagues. Madam President, you would recall that we've been here for the first time 2 years ago, and how much we've been impressed at that time that in the time of the full-scale war you spent with us the whole day. We've been talking Europe, we've been talking accession, we've been talking how can we help you to be well prepared for the future EU membership, and today's meeting is equally impressive because what we discussed then is currently happening. It's taking place, it's taking shape, and for that I really would like to thank you because the cooperation was indeed outstanding. The implementation of deep and comprehensive free trade area between EU and Ukraine indeed plays a crucial role during the pre-accession phase, Ukraine's gradual integration into the EU single market, because it not only complements but it actually reinforces the whole accession process, and we are determined to accelerate this gradual integration. The priority action plan, as Deputy Prime Minister Sviridenko just mentioned, for the enhanced implementation of the DCFTA has been a very important tool how to prioritize the reform since 2021 already. And I'm very pleased that our meeting in Kiev creates an opportunity for the EU and Ukraine to endorse this new priority action plan for 2025 and 2026. And I really would like to thank all Ukrainian partners, first and foremost, First Deputy Prime Minister Yulia Sviridenko, but also Deputy Minister of Economy Taras Kachka for excellent cooperation on this very important document. We also agreed that we should be even more focused for the future, and that priority action plans should be streamlined, and we achieve that as well. So we'll be focusing on the 10 key actions that will deliver something what I would describe as early harvest in the accession process. This implementation will build on substantial progress that was already achieved in many of the areas, including on the integration of Ukraine in the EU Rome like at home, and I know that Executive Vice President Virkkunen will further touch upon this priority during her intervention, but also I would like to highlight good progress which we achieved on the negotiations on the agreement on conformity assessment and acceptance of industrial products. So this is exactly what makes it easier for you to export industrial products to the EU, as well as inclusion of Ukraine into the single euro payments area, which is further facilitation for your companies to be active on the European market. We, of course, are very much aware of the importance for Ukraine and European Union of the mutual trade liberalization and the upcoming consultations under the Article 29 of the EU-Ukraine Association Agreement. As you know, this agreement has provided almost full liberalization of trade between EU and Ukraine in industrial goods already since 2016. Furthermore, since June 2022, the EU has temporarily liberalized from Ukraine to the EU for all products, including agri-food sector. The autonomous trade measures which provided for the additional liberalization will be enforced until the 5th of June. And I would like to reassure you that we are fully committed to ensure a smooth transition after the ATMs expire and the swift implementation of reciprocal trade liberalization for agri-food products. As you know, for us, this will be a very delicate exercise, given the sensitivities for some products in some of our member states and, of course, the concerns of our farmers. On the EU side, you can trust that we will keep the momentum, we will speed up the process, and I would like to thank for very good discussion to Agriculture Minister Vitaly Koval and Taras Kachka, because we spent quite some time discussing this issue this afternoon. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you so much. And I give the floor to Mikhailo Fedorov, Deputy Prime Minister of Innovations, Digital Transformation, Education, Science of Ukraine. So, Mr. Deputy Prime Minister, please.
Пане Прем'єр-міністре, пані Президентко, шановні
Prime Minister, and Madam President, European Commissioners, one of the strategic priorities for Ukraine in the context of the European integration is obtaining internal market treatment in the electronic communication sector and ensuring our gradual integration into the EU's digital single market. Our efforts are particularly focused on joining the EU's roaming area and achieving mutual recognition of electronic trust services. Ukraine remains fully committed to implementing EU's digital legislation in line with our obligations, and we've sent the notification to the European Commission on the 7th of November, and we are looking forward to the European Commission's upcoming assessment of Ukraine's national legislation on roaming, and we do believe that it will be a positive one and will bring us the decision on internal market treatment for roaming already in the upcoming months this year. On our side, we are committed to take all the necessary steps for success of this process and its positive results. In particular, it's for the steps such as the approval of the decision by the Association Committee in Trade configuration to amend Appendix 17 and to make sure that there is internal market treatment for roaming on public mobile communications network. Additionally, we also confirm our readiness and encourage European colleagues to extend the joint statement of Ukraine and Ukrainian operators to ensure affordable roaming services for Ukrainians in the EU until our full accession to roam like at home. And talking about the electronic trust services this year, we are looking forward to update the joint work plan. Our companies are already working to develop the EU digital wallet on the basis of the DIA app. We've tested the identification in the large-scale test project. Ukraine is the largest implementing partner which is not part of the EU, and we have the expertise in engineering, and our app DIA is installed on 70% of Ukrainian smartphones, and it covers 22 million Ukrainian citizens. And we look forward really on amending this Appendix 17.3. And in the past, we've had successful cooperation on electronic ID, so the joint recognition of electronic trust services under eIDAS 2.0 would be the logical next step, and we hope that according to passage 2 Article 14 of the EU regulation, the process would go on. And talking about the EU's Digital Market Act, Ukraine is looking closely into this, and Ukraine has developed the law on digital services to implement these European acts, and we look forward to find the best ways to implement the acquis in Ukrainian legislation. I would like also to note Ukraine's effort in the implementation of the NIS2 directive and joining the EU cybersecurity reserve within the Digital Europe program. Strengthening our cyber resilience is essential in the face of ongoing challenges to ensure the operation of public infrastructure overall, and we greatly appreciate your continued support in this endeavor. I would like to say that Ukraine remains steadfast in its commitment to the shared vision of a secure, innovative and interconnected digital Europe. We look forward to deepening our cooperation and building new pilots to develop digital Europe.
Thank you very much. And I would like to call the Executive Vice President Henna Virkkunen.
Thank you, Madam President, Honorable Prime Minister, Honorable Ukrainian government. It's a great pleasure to be here today with you. Ukraine has really become a front runner when we speak about innovations and digitalization, and for example, it's one of the most advanced countries when it comes to public digital services today. So I say that we have a great opportunities when it comes to our digital internal markets. So like it was already said here before, roaming will be the first step, because it's important to make sure that the Ukrainian people displaced by Russia's military aggression could stay connected across borders. Now we have a voluntary agreement between 22 European and 7 Ukrainian telecommunications operations. It's in place and it has been prolonged to last year for a 5th time. But as I mentioned earlier, the inclusion of Ukraine into the EU's Roam Like at Home area is one of our first achievements under the Priority Action Plan, and we are advancing well, thanks also to Ukraine's efforts here. So the Commission is currently looking into Ukraine's integration of the EU roaming acquis in domestic law. In the next month, we will issue our assessment, and if positive, we would propose to Member States to grant Ukraine access to the EU roaming area. We hope to see the process concluded by this spring. Once completed, the process will extend to Ukraine the same benefits enjoyed by EU Member States in the EU roaming area, very important for our citizens and for our businesses. We also welcome Ukraine's work to swiftly align with the Digital Services Act and Digital Markets Act, and we share Ukraine's ambition to further accelerate the alignment process. Alignment with the DSA will help Ukraine address societal risks online, including risks linked to foreign interference and disinformation, while ensuring that fundamental rights of Ukrainian citizens are safeguarded also online. Alignment with the Digital Market Acts will ensure digital markets in Ukraine that they are fair and to benefit of local companies that want to innovate and compete on fair terms with the large tech companies. So supporting Ukraine in DSA and DMA alignment remains a priority for the Commission.
This leads perfectly from the digital to the defense sector, and therefore I call to the floor the Commissioner for Defense and Space, Andrius Kubilius.
Well, thanks a lot, Madam President, dear Prime Minister. Dear colleagues, we had good exchange with Minister Smetanin and people from Defense Ministry, and For us, it's absolutely clear that our common goal is peace for Ukraine through strength. Ukraine demonstrates remarkable strengths, and additional strengths can come from European Union side, looking into urgent and longer-term needs. What we can do? First of all, increase the support for the Ukrainian defense industry. Second, set up a joint EU-Ukraine task force on procurement needs of Ukraine. Third, beef up procurement options from EU and Ukrainian defense industries in support of Ukraine. And fourth, we shall use existing EU defense industrial programs and forthcoming KIDIP for the benefit of Ukraine. That is how integration of defense industries, what Madam President you were speaking about, will go ahead. We want EU Defense Innovation Office, which is established in Kiev, to take care also about integration of our defense industries, which will be beneficial for both sides. We shall elaborate further opportunities to support Ukraine in forthcoming white paper on European defense. And we, together with Minister Smetanin, agreed that our urgent priority for joint task force could be 3 topics. To look for possibilities to improve supply of components and raw materials, very much important for defense industry of Ukraine, including nitrocellulose. Second, to look into possibilities how we can assist for development of joint projects of Ukrainian defense industry with European defense companies. And third one, development of common capability targets and flagships in order really to include Ukrainian needs into our planning process. I hope that in forthcoming Ukraine Defense Forum in May, we shall be able to report the progress on those concrete items. And in addition to cooperation in the field of defense industries, we need to strengthen our cooperation also in space, especially in Earth observation services. Copernicus, which is the best service worldwide, can be very beneficial for Ukraine. I suggest to launch a formal process and negotiations of Ukraine joining the Union Space Program Copernicus and its components. Slava Ukraini!
Героям слава. I give the floor to Minister of Internal Relations, Igor Klimenko. Mr. Minister, please.
Dear Madam President, Prime Minister, Euro Commissioners, colleagues, we have provided the complex strategic plan of action to ensure safe environment and space for us. We have been discussing the safety of borders, including through the Frontex initiative. We also discussed the assistance to our people in the European Union and after the war as a precondition for returning our citizens home. This will be the migration policy. But before that, we shall be consulting our colleagues from the Interior Ministries and the European Commission. We are grateful that we are looking very thoroughly at the law on prevention of proliferation of weapons, and we have been discussing this with the Euro Commissioner for Security and Safety. We ought to stand ready to resolve crisis situations, and I would like to thank the European Union and the European Commission for fantastic contribution during the 3 years of full-fledged war in developing and training our units in the Interior Ministry. Thank you for your support. Much obliged. Thank you, Minister. I would like to ask our colleagues, ministers, be very, very brief so that we finalize this meeting before 8 p.m. Thank you.
Minister of Energy, to Minister of Strategic Industries, Herman Smetanin. Mr. Minister, please.
Esteemed Prime Minister, Madam President, European Commissioners, the members of the government, Ukraine and the EU have been cooperating in defense industry, and it's very important. This cooperation helps reinforce Ukraine defense capabilities and European defense capabilities. For 3 years of this full-scale innovation, Ukraine has achieved significant progress in the defense production. We've increased the production of armament several times. Our industry is more productive and more technological. We create new military technologies following the NATO standards. Ukrainian industry is cooperating already with several world leaders, like Grand Metal, like British VSC, and Czech company, and the German Helsing company is implementing the AI. Scandi is helping us repair heavy equipment. These are only several cases which are working, so we're looking forward to the expansion of this cooperation. Our side is actively cooperating on the creation of the White Book, and we're looking forward to engage Ukrainian industry to support this important work. We appreciate your support to the Ukrainian defense industry and its integration with the European. We had a very productive conversation with the Commissioner Kabelius. Thank you so much for the support of Ukraine.
Дякую дуже вам. I give the floor again to Mikhailo Fedorov, Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Digital Transformation. Mikhailo, please.
Да, дякую.
Well, thank you. I would like to add just a couple of words for defense steps. This is the direction which is proactively developing in Ukraine, and there has been a full-fledged revolution because drones and robotized technologies and radio and electric jamming allow us to give mighty blows to the enemy. And this is what we produced heavily in Ukraine. And more than 25% of all drones and radioelectric jamming, all land platforms have been produced in Ukraine. I also would like to thank for opening the Defense Technologies Office in Ukraine. It is only recently that with our colleagues from the Ministry of Defense and Strategic Communications and your office have convened a defense tech with innovators from 40 countries and a huge number of investors from the European Union member states. Today in Ukraine, we have perhaps the best conditions globally to create one's own business because we have brought taxes 5 times down. We have removed some 30 regulatory documents to open up business opportunities for private sector. And all the companies who are engaged in defense tech, they're welcome to be here in Ukraine to open their own offices in Ukraine and assisted us to defend this country with our joint weapons. We have more than 500 companies who are producing drones, more than 200 companies who engage in producing radioelectronic jamming devices, more than 100 companies who do robotized devices, more than 100 companies who do munitions, who produce munitions, and many other companies which I am not going to mention. So we need to enforce our cooperation in this sector. And through the Defense Initiatives Office, we can engage in joint grant programs to engage both Ukrainian and European companies into this ensemble work. Ukraine is the sole place in the world where we can test our products in real time at the front line. So come to Ukraine, test your products here in Ukraine, and let us do joint investment into Ukrainian companies and European companies. This is what is going to stop Russia here and now at the front line. So I expect that we shall have more and more joint efforts and projects in this area. We have been very fruitfully discussing these items with the Commission members, and we shall develop our joint roadmap. Thank you.
So much. This is really impressive, how you are creating this conducive environment. And here is really a field where we can learn from you. That is the moment for Stéphane Séjourné, the Executive Vice President for Prosperity and Industrial Strategy.
Thank you, Madam President. Monsieur le Premier Ministre, the Europeans have always said that the economic integration goes hand in hand with the political integration. That's why we need to be able to base our partnerships on a very concrete example. You will never be asked to sign an agreement without mutually beneficial partnerships, and Ukraine is a potential source for 21 out of 30 raw materials that the EU deems critical. Note the positive assessment of the Balakivka graphic extraction project by the Commission, which could power 10% of EU needs by 2030. And the last things, Madam President, I do this briefly, but on single market, I understand that you already have a law under discussion in the Rada about market surveillance. I think is a good start to start with many sectors quickly with many companies in a short time.
Thank you very much. This is the time to move forward to accountability. And I give the floor to Maria Luis Albuquerque, Commissioner for Financial Services, Savings and Investment Union.
Thank you, Madam President, Mr. Prime Minister, ministers, colleagues. Sanctions, as already referred by the Minister of Finance, remain one of the most important levers. We have to keep pressure on Russia and further weaken Russia's ability to wage its war. We are fully committed to the continuing application of sanctions and fighting against circumvention. We value the work that Ukraine does on sanctions, including the specific, most valuable proposals that you share with us. Some of these have made it into the packages, like the 16th package as well. Consistent with our commitments, the EU is adopting today a 16th package of sanctions, which comes at a crucial moment, marking the third year of Russia's full-scale aggression. This is a comprehensive package. It includes further individual designations and new sectoral economic sanctions. As part of our determination to strengthen our focus on the financial sector, given that Russia has diverted much of its financial revenues to smaller banks, more regional Russian financial institutions were de-SWIFTed today. On top of this, today's measures include a set of transport and infrastructure measures. It will also translate into specific import and export bans concerning crucial sectors of the Russian economy and adds further vessels violating the G7 plus oil press cap and engaging in other illegal practices. This will hurt the Russian shadow fleet. To curb the risk of circumvention, we propose to mirror the relevant provisions of the 16th package in the Belarusian regime. The interest of the EU operators is nonetheless safeguarded, as the proposal shields our business from Russian measures that harm EU operators. The 16th package was adopted by foreign ministers at today's Foreign Affairs Council. It consists of individual listings targeting primarily the Russian military and defense sector, as well as measures against the shadow fleet, transaction bans on airports, banks, and entities subject to strengthened export control measures. As I said, we are keen to do more, also to tackle sanction circumvention, prioritizing some partners. Exchanges of information with Ukraine remain key in this process. EU sanctions have significantly impacted Russia's foreign revenues, and its effects will deepen over time. With each new sanctions package, we improve the effectiveness and close gaps, and we will continue to do so as part of our unwavering commitment to support Ukraine and its people.
Thank you very much. And now we move on to Michael McGrath, Commissioner for Democracy, Justice, the Rule of Law.
Thank you, Madam President. Prime Minister, thank you and all of your colleagues for the very warm welcome to Kyiv, notwithstanding the profound challenges that you're facing at this time. There cannot be a fair and lasting peace without justice, and with the military invasion of Ukraine, Russia has committed the crime of aggression. It has gone on to commit a series of war crimes and crimes against humanity. Accountability is therefore a shared and common goal, and I am proud of the significant progress made in the establishment of the Special Tribunal for the Crime of Aggression against Ukraine. In the core group meeting in Brussels earlier this month, on the 3rd and 4th of February, Ukraine and 37 states, together with the Council of Europe, the Commission and the European External Action Service, made major progress on the legal foundations to set up this tribunal, and these were set out in what we call the Schuman Draft Statute. Once this tribunal is in place, Ukrainian prosecutors will be able to refer investigations and prosecutions related to the crime of aggression to the prosecutor of the Special Tribunal. The International Centre for the Prosecution of the Crime of Aggression, which currently plays a crucial role in collecting evidence, will become part of the tribunal. The Union is fully committed to supporting the next steps to come to final agreement and make this special tribunal a reality. And the Commission stands ready to further support the Council of Europe and Ukraine in handling and finalising all the necessary procedures. As much as there cannot be lasting peace without justice, there can be no justice without compensation. Russia must pay for the damage caused in Ukraine. The EU will continue to support the Register of Damage, in which it is a fully fledged participant, and welcomes that formal negotiations to establish the International Claims Commission for Ukraine will start on the 24th of next month. The Union made a first step towards participating in the formal negotiations on the instrument setting up the Claims Commission. On the 4th of this month, the Commission proposed to Member States to participate in the formal negotiations. The Commission shares your sense of urgency to quickly move forward with the establishment of the Claims Commission. Achieving full accountability for Russia's crimes against Ukraine will no doubt involve many challenges, but please be assured of our unequivocal commitment and support to ensure they are held accountable for the terrible crimes they have perpetrated against your people and your country. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Olga Stefanishina, Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Justice, the floor is yours, please.
Thank you, Prime Minister and Commissioner McGrath, Commissioner Albuquerque. Thank you for a long cooperation and support for these vital initiatives of Ukraine in this very important time. Before proceeding with the accountability, it's important that we congratulate the Commission and the European Union for passing the recent sanctions. I think it's a very important signal that when it really matters, the unity can be mobilized. At the same time, we also consider that at this point of time we should not forget to continue the discourse on the frozen assets. And while it has already been declared by Russian side that this would be one of the options they will, or the claims they will be putting on the table for their future negotiations, it's very important that even without talking about confiscation at this particular moment, the concentration of the frozen assets is important, and I think this is the moment we can start working on this point. It's also important that in this very turbulent time, and especially given the spirit of these hours when the UN General Assembly meetings are taking place and there are different resolutions and initiatives putting under question the aggression of the Russian Federation against Ukraine, putting under question who is the aggressor and who is the victim. European Union stands with Ukraine speaking about the accountability, which is non-negotiable, and setting forward the legal background for a special tribunal accountability. While this discussion is in process, Ukraine is preparing its law enforcement framework and necessary information, data and investigation to be further filed to consideration of the special tribunal. We're also working on those crimes which are the most underreported and which are not only the war crimes, they are crimes against humanity, the crimes against women, children and elderly elderly people, the crimes related to a forceful deportation of children, the crimes related to rapes and sexual violence at war, and forcing to tortures not only the victims of the violence, but also those who were forced to watch and witness this violence. All this data is accumulated in Ukrainian registers and databases and will be handed over, verified, and transmitted to the special tribunal when the moment comes. It's not only about the fair compensation, it's about the accountability and the responsibility, and it's very important that in this particular moment we all have the unity behind saying that accountability is non-negotiable. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and I give the floor to Svetlana Grinchuk, Minister of Environment. Please, Madam Minister.
Дякую, пане прем'єр-міністр, Madam President, colleagues. Питання
The matter of damages which Russia is imposing into Ukrainian environment, and not only Ukrainian, because as we know, the environment has no borders. Well, this matter is extremely important in the total scope of all damages that Russia is imposing on Ukraine, including Ukrainian economy and Ukrainian people. We continue from the very beginning of the full-scale war, we continue assessing the damages imposed on the environment, and according to preliminary estimate, 82 billion euro worth of damages has been assessed. If we just enumerate the most well-known consequences of the war to the environment, that is the destruction of the Kakhovka Dam, that is poisoning of our rivers, like the rivers Seym and Desna last autumn. This is the spill of fuel oil in the Black Sea. This is the damages of the new safe confinement over the destroyed fourth reactor block of the Chernobyl NPP. And it's only a small fraction of what is happening every day. Every day we register additional damages. We've developed the regulations and we try to make it in line with international approaches and European standards so that we would be registering and documenting all the damages. And as of now, over 7,500 cases of crimes against the environment has already been documented. We continue doing this work. I would like to say thanks to all the colleagues from the European Commission for their assistance and support. We keep working and exchanging the information. As I said, we use the methodologies which we've developed jointly and will continue, hopefully, improve this work. Also, we do important work with the International Damages Registers Office so that environmental damages would also be included there, according to the procedures and necessary forms. And of course, the matter of compensation of these damages in the future is important. The steps we take today to document these damages, to assess them, they should become the foundation for the future compensation of damages to the environment. So thank you so much, colleagues. Thank you for your support. Thank you for working with us. We'll continue working.
Thank you very much, and I call on Jessica Roswell, Commissioner for the Environment.
Thank you, Madam President, Mr. Prime Minister, colleagues. The destruction of the Kakhovka Dam in June 2023 stood out as the worst environmental disaster in Ukraine since Chernobyl, with widespread consequences extending, as you said, Minister, to the larger Black Sea region. The environmental damage caused by Russia's aggression are increasing day by day. And according to the latest estimation we saw, the environmental losses since the beginning of the full-scale war by Russia has already been estimated to at least 72.9 billion euros, with over 7,000 environmental crimes recorded, probably higher, as Minister just said. The war has also resulted in the contamination of 20.8 million square meters of soil. We will continue to provide all possible support to Ukraine on the assessment and remediation of this environmental damage, and will continue our efforts together with your government and international partners. This work goes hand in hand with our support to Ukraine on alignment with the EU acquis to establish a robust framework for recovery and reconstruction. We welcome Ukraine's progress in approximation of environment legislation since the start of the war and Ukraine's application for EU membership. Although still much needs to be done when to implement this legislation and planning investments, including the tackling of damages and related pollution, the Commission will continue to support Ukraine in these efforts. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and I give the floor to Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Development of Communities and Territories, Oleksiy Kuleba.
Шановний пане прем'єр-міністр України, шановні комісії.
Esteemed colleagues, Madam President, I would like to make my speech in 3 minutes and will present the efforts on recovery and reconstruction, even though you understand that it's a huge topic. So Ukraine's recovery is not just the reconstruction of what is damaged, but it's, of course, build back better. This is the paradigm in which we live now. And also it's about the creation of the new, modern and effective solutions that would create the impetus for the future development of Ukraine. In 2025, the government of Ukraine has set the priorities of sustainable development, strengthening security and economic growth. So firstly, it is fast recovery of the energy and housing infrastructure. The energy independence is the key to resilience of the state, especially at frontline areas, because they have been seeing the biggest destruction. We introduced the distributed heat and electric energy system so that our communities would have a reliable source of power, so that our communities further would have decentralized energy system. Of course, special attention is given to the support of internally displaced persons and the development of housing for them. The total losses in the housing sector of Ukraine is 13% of all the housing area in Ukraine. That's 320,000 private houses that have been destroyed or damaged. That's over 37,000 high-rises which have been damaged or destroyed. In response, we are working to expand the compensation programs for the destroyed housing, and we plan jointly with the communities new construction projects which would also create jobs. But we understand that recovery should be strategic and effective for the communities. That's why, in the context of public investment reform, we work with communities to develop strategies and planning. Our principle is the following: first, strategy and grounds for that, and then would funding follow. This would help us use limited resources sparingly and focus them where they would be most effective. The investment in the infrastructure and economic development, social sphere would not only reconstruct the destroyed, but would create new opportunities in communities. But the communities would also play the key role in this process. An important role here is given to our digital tools, which were created jointly with the Ministry of Digital Transformation. And in this case, it's about the DREAM system, where already 787 projects are registered, and they cover the infrastructure, social sphere, economy, and other strategic areas. And every figure there is a new road, a new school, a new hospital, an economic hub, or an industrial site that changes Ukraine to the better. So despite war, we do not stop in our reforms. Ukrainian communities show their resilience, and international support gives them the opportunity to implement projects which become the foundation for our post-war development. We appreciate every partner country, everyone who is supporting Ukraine in these complicated times. Jointly, we develop our future today, where Ukraine will be strong, independent, and European. Thank you.
Executive Vice President Teresa Ribeira, please.
Thank you so much, President, Prime Minister, dear colleagues.
First of all, I would like to express my gratitude for such a warm welcome in such a relevant day. We were here to support you to resist and build resilience, and we will be here also to ensure a build better reconstruction. We have been talking about the European investments in Ukraine being able to anchor the country into the European Union and increasing the business-to-business contacts and developing supply chains. Thinking about the Ukraine Investment Facility, the Ukraine Donor Platform, a strong catalyst for mobilizing both public and private resources, but also thinking on how when working on public procurement and private investment, we cannot miss the opportunity to prepare better. This is why we thought about keep on going in the already preparations for the third Ukraine Reconstruction Conference in Rome in July 2025. We want Ukraine's European path as well as Ukrainian and European business to take center stage in this year's conference. Reforms which Ukraine undertakes as part of the Ukraine Plan accession negotiations improve conditions for making business in Ukraine. So this work could even count with preparatory meetings counting on business in the coming months. In the recovery and reconstruction of infrastructures, key infrastructures in housing or energy. These are part of the elements of our joint agenda, and we would like to keep on working.
Thank you so much. And I give the floor to Minister of Energy of Ukraine, Herman Galushchenko.
Thank you. Prime Minister, Madam President, indeed 17 massive attacks, so over 2,000 drones only this year over the energy system, and we also have daily attacks, so 10 gigawatts of generating capacity were lost. Unfortunately, we have losses in our own natural gas extraction, and also nuclear security is an issue because the Zaporizhzhia NPP is still occupied. We have all the rotation of the IAEA going awry because of Russian attacks, and these are only a small part of the realities of the Ukrainian energy system. But what we can say now that jointly we've managed to overcome another difficult winter of war, and we've had our discussion about our focuses of attention for the future. First is protection, so protection, active and passive. This is what helped us to live through this winter. Secondly, that is repairs, and repairs it's important because out of 10 gigawatts we managed to get back 5 gigawatts back into the system. It helped us balance the system. It was first and foremost through the Energy Support Fund, and with your support we managed to accumulate over 1 billion euro there. So today we have more applications than a billion. We need another like $500 million to cover the urgent needs. Secondly is the transit of Russian gas. We've taken an historic decision, and in the context of REPowerEU, we've stopped the transit of the Russian gas. And I appreciate today's messages and today's solution and today's decision that, yeah, we are together. We'll consider gas supply as part of not just Ukraine's security, but also it will be part of the energy security for the whole region. Of course, there are matters of gas tariffs and pricing, but here we're ready to work jointly. Of course, I also appreciate the possibility to increase the import cap, 2+1, plus the emergency 250 megawatts. That's very important. It's important to keep this cap throughout all the year, because actually in spring and especially in summer we will have to balance the system. It will be difficult, and I appreciate that the European Commission has approved the roadmap on gases, and Ukrainian biomethane already is supplied to the EU, and these are important programs that we implement in renewable energy. That's important for the communities and the citizens. So the financial support here in terms of the possibility to issue loans to ensure the citizens can use the renewable energy sources, and of course the integration of the markets. It's important. We've heard about this today from the EU side. It's very important for us, and actually we look into energy security of Ukraine in the context of not just our country, but it's indeed part of European security. Thank you.
Much, and with that I call on Dan Jorgensen, Commissioner for Energy and Housing.
Thank you, President. So the EU and Ukraine has indeed been working extremely closely together on energy, and we will continue to do so. The objective is obviously that no Ukrainian citizen should be without heat or without electricity. No company should have to stop production because of lack of energy. These are our objectives. And today, President von der Leyen announced the next steps forward in our collaboration, and I'll mention the three main objectives here. One, to fully integrate our energy systems, meaning, for instance, and most importantly, that the electricity system is fully integrated by spring 2027. Two, that we, from the Commission, will assist in funding gas purchases for the sake of Ukraine, but also for the sake of the region. And three, we will accelerate investments in renewable energy with up to 1.5 gigawatt generation capacity as an objective. Now this of course builds on the many things we've done so far, including the investment of more than 1 billion euros via the Ukraine Energy Support Fund, including the working together on technical assistance when important infrastructure has been hit by Russian attacks. And let me also use this opportunity to strongly condemn and show our solidarity once again with you on the terrible attacks on your infrastructure, especially of course on the nuclear infrastructure, which is so dangerous and irresponsible that we need to stand very firm in our criticism of that, obviously. Now, in the short term, of course, we will continue to support the physical protection of the infrastructure. We will also help even more with the repairment, the restoration. This will include more funds, including an additional up to 100 million under the Ukraine facility, and visits in mid-March. And as Minister Kudashenko said, we will also be working on the implementation on the roadmap of Memorandum of Understanding on renewable gases. By the way, we apologize, but that's a really European way to have a roadmap on the implementation of. But it is more efficient than it sounds. And this is important because indeed methane and other gases are also a part of our collaboration. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And another one very important topic for which I would like to thank you, Madam President. Solidarity Lanes, it's another one, your personal initiative, which was existential for us and let us survive, let save food security for many countries and survive to Ukrainian agrarians, farmers. And thank you for this initiative. It works perfectly during the blockade of the Black Sea by Russians and later when we need this. Thank you for this. And I give the floor to Minister of Agrarian Policy, Vitaly Koval, please.
Щиро дякую, пане прем'єр-міністр, пане президент.
Thank you so much. Yes, indeed. When the shipping routes were blocked, it was important for us to have alternative supply channels for agricultural products. And today we can say that indeed through this Ukrainian grain corridor. 86% of our agricultural products in January have been exported through the Danube and the supports, which shows that Ukrainian produce reaches all the corners of the world, and this is the support with the support of the EU. We keep hearing that the agricultural topic is one of the most sensitive topics in the negotiations between Ukraine and the EU, and yeah, that's true, because our farmers work in very complicated situation. Over 200,000 Ukrainian farmers are now recruited into the military, enlisted, and 3 out of 5 euros of our agricultural export comes from the agriculture. Also, it's important to understand that we are not a standard country when we talk about the agricultural input to the GDP. 11% of the GDP is formed by agricultural producers, and like 4% is agricultural processing. So it's very important for us to keep the good neighborhood relationship and the free trade regime with the EU, because 52% of all the agricultural produce that is exported is now shipped to the EU, which is now the reduction, because in 2022-2023 we had up to 70%, but now it's 52%. So Ukraine is diversifying its supply channels, and it's important for us to keep this transition period and to develop the proper mechanism so that Ukrainian agricultural manufacturers would not lose the capacity, because it's very important for Ukrainian economy. I would like to say thanks to Mr. Shevkovich and Sekel for our discussion. We discussed Ukraine's possibilities in joint supplies to other countries, so that African countries and Middle Eastern countries would be getting Ukrainian products through this financial mechanism and support of the EU. It's very important because Ukraine is providing food security for the whole world, and 400 million people all over the world, they depend on Ukraine now. So thank you for your support, especially for the support you've been providing to small farmers. Those 20 million euros that the EU allocated to support small farmers, they have worked, they are helpful. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Minister, and I give the floor to Vice Prime Minister Oleksiy Kuleba.
Дуже дякую. Хочу сказати про те, що
Thank you very much indeed. I would like to mention that solidarity lines are very important for Ukraine. It is hard to overestimate this importance, and we are grateful for the European Union because this has enabled humanitarian corridors. And also it assisted us to transform our other transportation means. Very important to have the agreement on the cargo road transportation. We are very much interested in continuation of this agreement because it expires this year, and we would like to have a constant agreement in this direction. We hope for the support of the European Union to extend the operation of this agreement and provision of the timeless nature of this agreement. We also need to ensure that mobility and competition of our citizens and cargo transportation are very important for our businesses. We're also interested in having the EU support for the projects of the mechanism to match together Europe, considering all the priorities that we have been inputting into the enhanced transportation strategy for Ukraine until 2030 and the border crossing points that we developed for the year 2030. This is very important for us, and thank you for your support.
And now I have the pleasure to call to the floor Apostolos Tzitzikostas, Commissioner for Sustainable Transport and Tourism.
Thank you, Madam President, Prime Minister, members of the government. I would like to talk about these indeed very important solidarity lanes. They have demonstrably delivered for Ukraine, for the EU, and for the global security, maintaining at the same time essential trade flows with more than 206 billion euros in goods transport. Ukraine is indeed, as you said, a leading food exporter, providing food for 400 million people worldwide. And the solidarity lanes that we installed have played a crucial role in this sense. As Ukraine looks now towards recovery and reconstruction, the solidarity lanes will take on a renewed and vital role. They will be instrumental in swiftly and efficiently moving essential goods, materials, and at the same time facilitating the return of Ukrainians to their homes and their communities. Now, EU investment in solidarity lanes, infrastructure and connectivity, including contributions from international financial institutions, now exceeds 2 billion euros. They provide a crucial physical link to the trans-European transport network, and the extended agreement between the EU and Ukraine on the carriage of freight by road is also supporting Ukraine's integration into the European transport area. Of course, progressive alignment with the EU transport acquis is crucial for further deepening Ukraine's integration within the EU transport market. Now, to help Ukraine achieve these goals, the European Union is committed to providing support to you for necessary reforms. Our partnership in the solidarity lanes, facilitating integration, trade, and the future, of course, of tourism, is a cornerstone of our shared vision for a prosperous and secure Ukraine. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I'd like to give the floor to the Executive Vice President, Raffaele Fitto.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Prime Minister, dear colleagues. For me, it's the first time here, and will be a great pleasure to work together in the coming years. Regarding cohesion, in the meeting that we had, we spoke about cross-border programs and Interreg programs, in particular regarding infrastructure and administrative capacity. These programs were decided 3 years ago, and we think that it's important to need to adapt to the new priorities that we have now. We shared this approach, this new approach, and in the next weeks we will work in this direction. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we go to the social reforms, development of the human capital, and I give the floor to Minister of Social Policy, Oksana Zhulnovich.
Esteemed colleagues, social sector today is under fantastic pressure and challenges, but we are not stopping only on this humanitarian component. We are trying to improve social policies and harmonize them to the European standards. Our objective, through social tools, to ensure unity and solidarity of Ukrainian society. There are 3 global challenges of today, and there are key strategies that we have developed within the framework of Ukrainian facility. First, demographic policy. Second, right of every child to be raised in the family. And third, inclusiveness of the third generation of people, of older people. We are trying to engage NGOs, and we also do procurements of services. We provide complex rehabilitation for people with special needs, and we also focus on internally displaced persons. By this, we try to assist many people to adapt and get back to the labor force. We also create special programs for women who look after their family members. We're trying to build up the system which is not only supporting a person in crisis times, but incorporates this person into the society. This is investment into our future and human capital. And we need your assistance and your support in this respect. I would like to thank for the already given support, in particular when we were implementing the Better Gem program. We are thankful for being together. Thank you.
So I give the floor to Minister of Health, Viktor Leshko.
Шановний Денис Анатолійович, шановні пані президент.
Prime Minister, Madam President, dear colleagues, through the efforts of the European Commission, Ukraine already is engaged in several initiatives that are implemented in the EU in the sphere of health. That's EU for Health, that's Ukraine's engagement in the Critical Medicines Alliance, and I hope that in the next few weeks we'll sign a document that would enable Ukraine's joining the EU on a shared procurement of medication. The European Commission is a reliable partner for us in ensuring the availability of healthcare to everyone who needs it, both in the EU countries for the displaced Ukrainians and for those who is staying in Ukraine. That includes the humanitarian aid, that's the medical evacuation programs, which today help thousands of military wounded or civilians who were hurt because of the Russian terrorists to get healthcare in the EU. I thank you and looking forward to the cooperation.
Minister of Veterans, Natalia Kalmykova, please.
Madam President, Prime Minister, esteemed colleagues, today we are here in the decisive moment for the European security, and your solidarity, your military support and humanitarian aid have been vital in all the years of the Russian war against Ukraine. However, I would like to highlight that by reinforcing our defense, we must also reinforce our commitment to those who defend us, to those on active service and those who've ended their service, the men and women who are the priceless capital for both Ukraine and Europe, our veterans. And President Zelensky has decided that the policy of heroes is one of the priorities for Ukraine, and the Ukrainian government has a clear vision of the national strategy of the veterans policy by 2030 would ensure that every veteran would be returning to civilian life with dignity. That includes improving health, both physical and mental health, the development of veteran sport, the employment opportunities through businesses, the support of families, paying respect to the fallen. And this would help veterans integrate in the society and would continue their input in the development of Ukraine. They would do this as businessmen, as professionals, as leaders. We encourage to have strong cooperation on this to ensure that our veterans receive the necessary support in the context of health services, the possibilities of employment, entrepreneurship, education, and proper recognition of their service. Resilience, dedication, and sacrifice of our veterans are the foundation on which our shared European values are underpinned. These are Ukrainian veterans, and they are our shared European veterans because they fought and they are fighting to defend the principles we all share. So glory to Ukraine.
Now, last but certainly not least, Roxana Mizatu, Executive Vice President.
Thank you. We shall always conclude that we are as strong as we are able to invest in our peoples. And for Ukraine, this is as true as it is for Europe, from children to people with disabilities, to veterans, to entrepreneurs, to workers. Thank you, Oksana, Oksen, and Natalia for the very fruitful discussion on what we need to do to continue to empower and support Ukrainians here in your country, but temporarily also in their homes in Europe. The European Commission has already leveraged its resources, Erasmus Plus for the integration of Ukrainian students and for the printing of textbooks, Creative Euro for Ukrainian cultural heritage mobilities for your professionals and artists, European Social Fund Plus for the support of some part of the 700,000 children that are still in European member states. But we do need to do more. We start being inspired by the fact that, yes, we can learn from you in terms of innovation. You innovate in social services, keep up the reforms, and we will be able to go further in supporting you, including through the Ukraine plan. Of course, we need to also look at the temporary protection directive. It is still offering support to Ukrainians throughout the European Union, but we need to think of a way further. Our interest, the Commission's interest, is to find a path so that the most cherished resource, the talent of the Ukrainians, is present here and reunited here with the motherland. But while it is needed, we shall be standing and investing and supporting Ukrainians inside our European Union for as long as it takes, until it is possible to have them safely back at home and reconstruct Ukraine better for a stronger Europe. Thank you.
So, thank you so much, dear colleagues.
Щиро дякую. Колеги, друзі, зараз у нас дуже важливий момент, коротка церемонія, коротка, але дуже... Зараз у нас дуже важлива церемонія підписання угоди.
Thank you so much. It's a long-awaited agreement which allows Ukrainian officials to be seconded to work and gain experience in the European Commission. Thank you, colleagues, and it's my pleasure and honor to sign it with the Commissioner for Budget.
Шановні пані та панове,
Ladies and gentlemen.
Розпочинається церемонія підписання адміністративної домовленості між урядом України.
The ceremony of signing the administrative agreement between the Ukrainian government and the European Commission.
Ceremony of the administrative arrangement between the government of Ukraine and the European Commission on secondment of Ukrainian officials to the European Commission. Підписують віце-прем'єр-міністр з питань європейської та євроатлантичної інтеграції України, міністр юстиції України Ольга Стефанішина, комісар з питань бюджету, боротьби з шахрайством і державного управління Петр Серафін. The arrangement is signed by Deputy Prime Minister for European and Euro-Atlantic Integration of Ukraine, Minister of Justice of Ukraine Olga Stefanishina, and by Commissioner for Budget, Anti-Fraud and Public Administration, Petr Serafin.
Thank you so much, dear colleagues. So, and let me give the floor for conclusion remarks to Madam President Ursula von der Leyen.
Thank you so much. And my conclusion will be extremely short because it was so impressive to see the depth and the width of knowledge and cooperation here between the two sides, if I may say so, that I could in no words conclude or summarize anything that has been discussed here. And I really enjoy to see how much you have already been deep diving with your colleagues on either side into the files. You recognize the different files in the reporting. That is wonderful to see that. We've gone together through 3 very difficult years already, but we will stand by your side for as long as it takes, and I'm very glad that my college is so engaged and so committed to this task. So thank you very much for this evening, and Slava Ukraini.
Dear Madam President, dear distinguished commissioners, dear friends, dear colleagues and members from Ukrainian government, thank you so much. Thank you for your support. Thank you so much for your visit. Again, it was your initiative to be here, our invitation, but it's absolutely perfect communication. During today's bilateral, multilateral meetings, I have seen how commissioners and ministers communicate very closely and very concretely, very pragmatically, and I'm sure that we will have another very historical, very good results after this second, I would say, traditional meeting between College of Commission and government of Ukraine. During this war, it's crucial. This direct contacts and this direct communication brings us very pragmatic, very good, and I hope very fast results. Thank you so much once again. We will win together. Glory to Europe, glory to Ukraine. Thank you.